Hello there again, Kingston Town Administrator Keith Hickey with the August edition of Kingston in Depth. Today I have the opportunity to spend a little time with Detective Sergeant Michael Skowyra. Sergeant Skowyra, thanks for coming in today. Appreciate that. We're here today to talk a little bit about what's happening with the police department. A lot of changes going on, both personnel-wise and equipment-wise. Recently, there's a national night out. We'll get into that a bit, so we can have a conversation about how that went and why the Kingston Police Department hosts something like that. And then towards the end of the show, we'll speak briefly about the Zip Trip that happened in Kingston on the 28th of July. So got a full show today. So Mike, thanks for coming. Really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Earlier this week, Kingston hosted yet another national night out. Had the opportunity to go up for a while, and it was a great turnout again. Maybe you can explain why Kingston makes the effort to host that event and how it benefits the police department.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. National Night Out is something that's been going on for well over 30 years. It's essentially nationally, right? National Night Out. Nationally, something that police departments do to essentially encourage community engagement with their police departments and to show the community kind of the different resources and things that we have, the things that we can do to help them should they find themselves in some sort of emergency situation, and connect them with the individual members of the police department.
Sure.
It's something that I feel like Kingston in particular has done a really good job with, and we get a lot of support from neighboring agencies, Pembroke, Plymouth, Carver, Duxbury, any really agency in any area on the South Shore is usually coming to our National Night Out. We also have in-town agencies. You know, you got the Kingston Fire Department, you got the Recreation Department, the Water Department. Everybody comes out to help us out. Laura Casey Pupek, the Chief's Assistant, puts a ton of work into it.
Yeah.
And then obviously additional members of the police department, a ton of work into it every year. But it's something that seems to always go off without a hitch, bringing in resources, you know, federal trucks and everything to kind of show what our tax dollars pay for and what we're available to do for everyone. And it's been great. We've had several hundred people every year come to it, and it always seems to grow. It seems to be something that everybody likes.
Yeah, it's it's a fantastic opportunity to get out there and meet the police officers from Kingston, obviously, and something that people probably don't appreciate is the equipment that's available to the Kingston Police Department, not just internally, but as you mentioned, so many outside agencies that come in, whether it be the SWAT vehicles, obviously the Harbor Master boats there. We had our new ladder truck there, along with Halifax this year. So really neat opportunity to see what Kingston Police Department can do and allow you guys to get out there and have an opportunity to spend some time with the residents of Kingston. So it's a nice opportunity, nice evening. Anything else from National Night Out that
Yeah, no.
try to highlight?
Just to your point too, with like the different equipment, it's something that a lot of that stuff, like you said, the SWAT trucks, the ladder trucks. There's, you know, I think that we had drones this year. There's a lot of stuff that if you're a resident of town and you're just driving around, you're not going to see that, right? It's not something that you see in day-to-day policing, but pretty much everything you see there is available to us at a moment's notice on a phone call. The drones, the SWAT teams, the helicopters, all that stuff at a phone call, we're able to provide that as necessary. And that's kind of what's great, so the town's aware of, you know, if I have an emergency on the water, what can the police department do?
Right.
We have all these resources combined with the fire department, the harbor master. If there's somebody in the woods, what can the police department do?
Sure.
We have helicopters, we have drones. We may not own all of it as Kingston, but being fiscally responsible throughout the region, everybody shares resources, and
Sure.
it's great.
Yeah, no, really, really nice. Nice to highlight that. I know the state police helicopter flew over a couple of times, so that was kind of a neat opportunity for people to see that close up in a more positive way than they may in some other instance. So that's great.
Exactly.
So a lot of other things going on. I mean, the National Night Out is an opportunity for the police department to perform some outreach to the community, and that's a very public event that people are very aware of that goes on. But there's also a lot of other outreach programs that the Kingston Police Department does that the general public may not be as aware of, that maybe we can spend a few minutes just trying to highlight some of those so the public is aware of what Kingston Police Department does for its residents, and also make them aware that if they are in need of one of these programs or opportunities that's out there, and how they could participate and take advantage of those. Sure. So what are some of the other things that the Kingston Police Department does to assist their residents?
Yeah, so we have multiple programs. Generally, what we try to do, and I think most PDs in our region try to do, is target different populations that might be high risk, right?
Sure.
So, for instance, Officer Howell is our Elder Affairs Outreach Officer. Sometimes maybe the elderly are more susceptible to different types of fraud, right? Different mail fraud, different phone fraud. So he goes to the Council on Aging, talks to them about those types of things. On the other end of the spectrum, we have our juvenile officers, our school resource officers, reach out to the kids. A lot of times in the summer, they'll work with the recreation department to go down to the Reed building, even just play kickball. So similar to how National Night Out is intended to connect the whole community, at least now these kids are seeing certain officers that then they'll see as they grow up, gain that relationship. That's great. Then, for instance, we do, with Plymouth County Outreach, we do a lot of outreach. Plymouth County Outreach is dedicated to different addiction services and counseling relative to that. People with substance use disorder or even alcohol abuse, those types of things. Just a couple weeks ago, we did a coffee with a recovery coach. And then that agency works closely with the district attorney's office, the Family Resource Center, so people that are struggling with resources for young kids, anything like that. We're able to connect them with resources there. A lot of times, people find themselves down and out, not knowing who else to call, and the police department becomes kind of the impromptu last resort. And luckily, we're able to connect with all these different agencies to kind of help out. Like, maybe our patrolman right there on the street can't help you get gas cards, but I know somebody who can. So we're able to connect people with that when they find themselves down and out. And that's great for us. And to show the community that it's not just about law enforcement, it's about community policing as a whole.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, if somebody had had a need to use one of the resources, what's the best way for them to reach out and speak to somebody that could potentially help them out?
Sure. So obviously different resources, different people tend to be in charge of it or kind of run it. The best thing I always tell everybody, just stop in the station or call dispatch. They can always get you to whoever you need to get to. Obviously, if it's an emergency situation, call 911, right? But besides that, if you're just looking to talk about what we can do for recovery sources or what we can do to help the elderly or to help with kids or whatever it is, just reach out to dispatch and one of us will get in contact with them.
That's great. No, I think it's important for people to realize and appreciate everything that goes on kind of behind the scenes with the police department. It's not just, as you mentioned, law enforcement and pulling people over and enforcing the laws and whatnot. It's also trying to provide some assistance through a community policing program and assisting residents and people who are in need in a variety of different ways to try to assist in whatever way we can. So that's great.
Right, and hopefully those types of programs, the goal really is, in theory, those programs help us reduce crime in the community, right?
Exactly.
Somebody's not as desperate. They don't have to break into cars and commit larcenies and victimize other people because they're able to get these resources before they get to that point, right? So we're hoping to prevent crime by doing so and just generally help the community.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that by doing that proactively, you're reducing the amount of crime that's going on within the town itself, because as you mentioned, you've helped them out at the beginning, so they haven't gotten desperate enough where they're doing something they wish they hadn't had to do, and potentially commit a crime of some sort, and be on the other side of law enforcement, unfortunately. So it's great that you guys are doing that. It's nice to know that that's out there if people have that need. And again, I'm sure that it can be done very low key. It's not going to be something that's going to be broadcast out that Mr. Smith came in and was looking for assistance of some kind. Exactly. It's pretty low key. So if people have the opportunity or have a need for assistance like that, you think the police department can help you out, we'd urge you to give the police department a call, speak to dispatch. They can move you to the person that is in the best who can best help you, I guess, moving forward. So please don't be bashful. It's there. We want to provide that assistance. The police department does a great job of doing that. So we'd ask people who do have a need of some kind it's another option for you to take advantage of if you want to do that. So great to know. A lot of other things going on within the police department. There's been some retirements coming on, some new police officers that we have going through the police academy right now, and hope to have them on the street sometime later on this fall. Maybe we can touch base a little on that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we have 2 recruits in the academy right now to be full-time police officers at the Plymouth Police Academy. We have a close relationship with the Plymouth Police Academy. We have multiple instructors that work as Kingston police officers that then also work as instructors down at the academy. So we have a good kind of thumb on how they're doing down there. They're doing very well. We're looking at them graduating the end of this month, beginning of next month, and then hopefully hitting the street with us. They'll go into a 14-week field training program with us, and then they'll be fully trained, ready to go police officers. And then we just had a new dispatcher start last week. She's doing her training right now as well. And we're actually going to have another dispatch opening pretty soon as well. So a lot of new faces, but good faces, and it's good for the department.
Yeah, no question. I know the police recruits that are in training right now. One was a dispatcher, which is why you have an opening.
Exactly.
So they're aware, at least from the dispatch side, of the police service, and have I would think, anyways, a bit of a leg up on somebody coming in without any training whatsoever. And then the other academy member was an officer an officer at the correctional officer. Excuse
Correct.
me. That's what I was
Yep.
trying to say.
Yep.
So I apologize for that. But so again, wasn't a police officer, but it's the same paramilitary training type stuff, and
Exactly.
so he'll be able to get in there and have a leg up, so to speak, on some of the guys that have never been part of an organization like that. So we're excited to have them come aboard in September. You'll see them on the street. You'll have somebody with them, like you said, for 14 weeks, making sure they apply whatever they've learned in the academy in an appropriate way, and they'll all be on their own, I would guess, around the first of the year, which is great news.
Yeah, and I think you're dead on just about the beginning of the year. And to your point, yeah, you'll see them with field training officers, and as their field training goes on, they'll start to take a more primary role themselves, gain their confidence, ensure they're applying the law properly, and just there's Kingston-specific policies and things to learn
Sure.
as compared to an officer getting on in another town. So that program is designed to make sure that when somebody calls for a service, they get a police officer, they get one of our new guys fresh off of FTO, he's had all the training he needs, he's able to help out however they need him.
That's great. Fantastic. Look forward to working with them. Another thing that people will start probably seeing much more visibly moving forward is there's a change in your uniform, so to speak. Currently, or in the recent past anyways, police officers typically wore bulletproof vests under their uniform, under their shirt, for protection. Agencies across the country now are moving to something more than a bulletproof vest that will be worn outside of the police shirt.
Yes.
That I know the Kingston Police Department has wanted to move to, and they're going to start moving to in the very near future. Maybe you can talk about what people should expect to see in the near future with officers on the street.
Sure. Yes. So there's the traditional police uniform, right? What you think of as the dark blue navy button-down shirt, and then you have the duty belt that has all the tools on the belt. As policing's evolved, we've started to add more and more to our belt, right?
Sure.
So officers are adding tourniquets, they're adding medical supplies, they're adding tasers.
Right.
All these things are in the last few years, as compared to even just 10, 15 years ago. Guys might not have had batons or OC. So it's become to the point where realistically officers are expected to do and train with more, but they can only carry so much on their belt, right?
Sure.
Studies have shown that there's back and hip issues related with that, sitting down, getting out of the car, in and out, and just with that much weight on your belt. And in the recent past, you started to see some major departments do their own studies and start to do these load-bearing vests. So it's an outer carrier vest. It's the same armor that you used to wear underneath your shirt. That armor is now outside of your shirt, and it's in a carrier that then has the ability to attach that equipment to the carrier. So it's effectively the same level of protection, and all we're really doing is moving the stuff from our hips up to our chest, and it's being supported by our shoulders rather than
Sure.
by our hips. And it allows officers some freedom, too, to kind of decide what they think is most tactically proficient for them to access their equipment when necessary, too. It's funny, you don't realize how much work goes into even making a small change to a policy like that, what seems like a small change. But just to give a small taste, for instance, what we debated for a long time is how would we be able to effectively use our active shooter kits. So our police cruisers have active shooter kits for if we find ourselves going into an active shooter situation, it's a harder, higher level of protection armor that we would put on. These kits, now if you were to put that on over your regular shirt, not a big deal, but now if your various tools are blocked when you put this kit on, okay, how are we going to adjust for that? So we picked a carrier very specifically that allows us to take the plates from those kits and slide them into these vests. So an officer finds himself going into an active shooter situation, he could don that hard rifle protection kit very quickly and still have all of his intermediate tools available to him in case when he gets into that situation, it turns out not to be a lethal situation. He needs to use a taser or something else. So small things like that that seem, they're not easily identifiable when you look on the street. You see somebody wearing that vest, you wonder, oh, why'd they do that? There's a lot of little details that come into it, and our firearms instructor team put a lot of work into choosing a specific vest, specific ways to carry equipment, re-qualifying. You're moving your taser, you want to qualify, for instance, on where it is now so that you don't draw the wrong thing, right? So all that little work took months, honestly, but the officers are excited for it, and the chief signed off on it, and you'll start seeing guys wearing it.
That's great. That's great. It's important to keep all the police officers on the street as safe as we can, and again, also addresses, like you said, injuries and sore backs and things of that nature. So we're trying to be proactive to make sure that they're comfortable, they aren't hurting themselves in any way, and also, most importantly, still protected, to make sure that if they do go into a situation where some of this equipment is needed, they're as prepared as they can be, so they're as safe as they can possibly be. So
exactly,
a lot happening, in the police department. The last thing that I guess I'll mention that people probably will never see, hopefully, is we're upgrading our radio system in dispatch. Just like everybody having to wait for their electronics a ridiculous amount of time because of the back orders, we've had to do the same. We purchased, down at Kingston, purchased new dispatch radio equipment months ago.
Yep.
And the lion's share of it came in fairly quickly, but there were radios that were backlogged for whatever reason. Those came in, I think, late last week.
Yep.
And I know the dispatchers and those in charge of dispatch itself are working with our vendor to get that upgrade done seamlessly, and I think that's supposed to be done sometime in the next 30 days as well.
Exactly, yeah, the chief's actually been putting a lot of attention towards that recently, and to your same point with the supply chain type issues, even cruisers, we have some cruisers on back order.
It's crazy.
But we're getting by, we have what we need for now, and just, incremental improvements, right? Just like with the vests, the dispatch radios, everything, it's good.
Yeah, no, it definitely, I think we're trying to keep up with, the needs of every department, certainly, and the police department's needs seem to be changing as quickly as, say, the fire departments as well. Public safety in general seems to be taking on a whole new role within the community. So we're trying to be proactive and try to deal with that so you guys can do as good a job as you can out there. So anything else, Mike, that you want to mention as far as police department activities going on?
Yeah, no, it sounds good. You'll see us occasionally do different community events, like I talked about earlier with the kids or with the elderly or whatever, coffee with a cop, that type of stuff. We have our own Facebook page if anybody wants to follow the Facebook page, Kingston, Massachusetts Police Department on Facebook. We're always posting things on there about what's going on. And if anybody ever just wants to stop in and ask questions about the different specialty positions, the different patrol operations, kind of what we do, how we set up, we're always happy to have guests.
So is it best to give dispatch a call if they wanted to have coffee with a police officer, things of that nature?
Yeah.
Just give dispatch a call and they'll route you to the right person and try to help you out. Awesome.
Exactly.
Well, I want to thank you very much for coming in today. I want to touch base real quick, if I could, on one of the subjects we had occur in Kingston recently. Last week, the Fox25 News came in and broadcast their Zip Trip from 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning last Friday down at Grace Beach. It was awesome. We have some footage that will roll to give you a sense of what went on down at Grace Beach. We're able to take some footage of what was going on behind the scenes. So let's take a minute and take a peek at what PAC TV took for footage. So we're having Fox25 Zip Trip here today. They asked us to participate down here at Grace Beach. We are thrilled to have them here and highlight all the great things going on in Kingston.
So excited to be here in Kingston. It's a beautiful sunny day, and we've got Fox25 showcasing the incredible amenities that our community has to offer. Lots of people out having fun in the sunshine, beautiful venue, incredible view, a family event, kids. Just so proud of the Keith, town manager in the town, for having this opportunity to really let people know what a wonderful place we're in.
So we are so excited to be here in Kingston. I mean, Kingston specifically, of all the towns that we do zip trips, has so many gems. And here today, we're right in front of one of them, being at Gray's Park for Gray's Beach. And, you know, if you see the waters just behind me, what I learned when I came here is that there are about 400,000 residents living right under the water in Rocky Nook Oyster Farm alone. And that was just one of the many things that I found when I came to Kingston. It was fantastic to be here, and what a day for it. You know, the reason that we do these zip trips is we want to connect with the people who turn us on every morning and watch the Boston 25 morning news. And when you're out here connecting with people in this way, you not only hear in a different way what's going on in local communities, but you also hear feedback about what you're doing. And of course, people vote with their remotes. So it's so fantastic to get out to each of these communities during our zip trips. We're doing 8 weeks in the summer, and you get a little snippet of what makes Massachusetts such a great place to live.
They asked us to come down as a local restaurant, and we said we would. It's not our first rodeo. We were here in 2004 also, as this gentleman has one of these collector items t-shirts. Okay, so we came and we showed our wares, and this is where we do our business. We're a local restaurant. We've been in Kingston for 40 years. Family restaurant, but being one of 10 children, I always love people and crowds. So it's a passion for me. You know, there was trying times during the COVID, you know. It's worth the effort. We get so many happy people come into the restaurant. They come in happy, they leave happy, and that's kind of what we do.
We've been able to identify some restaurants, some hometown heroes, a variety of different people that really deserve some recognition for everything they do for the town of Kingston. So we're thrilled to put Kingston on TV and give people who may not be aware of what we have to offer down here an opportunity to see it so they can come down and experience it themselves. As you see, it was a great day on Gray's Beach. For those who didn't get an opportunity to come down, I'm sorry you missed it. It was fun. But with that, I want to thank Detective Sergeant Michael Skowyra for coming in today. Really appreciate it. Hopefully people have a much better idea of all the different programs the police department offers. We urge you to take advantage of them if you need them. They're there to help you. We want to be proactive with our police force, and they will do everything they can to try to help anybody out who needs that help. So I want to thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you again next month.